Okay, we're good to go. Good evening, everyone. As a reminder, the meeting is live streamed and recorded and available on the internet by visiting the Town of Parry Sound's website at www.parrysound.ca. So welcome again to everyone. There was no closed meeting tonight, so we're right into the open session. Is there any prioritization of the agenda? I do have one addition, and that is, it's a new resolution and council was copied on it. It has to do with public health. And the item number will be 952. And do we have any other prioritizations? No? Okay, may I have a mover and seconder then for the agenda? Councillor Bachman, Councillor Keith, that the council agenda for March 2nd, 2021 be approved as amended. Anyone opposed to that? No, that's carried then. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Nope. Okay. May I have a mover and seconder for the minutes of the previous meeting? Councillor McCann, Councillor Horn, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held February 16th, 2021 be approved as circulated. Are there any questions or discussion with regard to the minutes? Nope. Anyone opposed to the passing of the minutes? No, then that's carried. Questions of staff? Councillor McCann.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one would be for Mr. Cairns. We're out walking on the weekend, and a commercial lot in town had been plowed, obviously, by an operator and left quite a mound of snow in the sidewalk, which totally blocked any possibility of a wheelchair getting by or someone with a walker. What are the rules or bylaws, and maybe this is something maybe Mr. Thompson could address, but I'd like to know what responsibility the plow operators have or should have regarding that, the fact that when they do plow out someone's driveway, that they're not leaving a whole hump of snow that makes it impossible for wheelchair folks to get through.
Certainly, through your worship. So the operators or the homeowners or the business owners have a responsibility to keep those areas clear, obviously, whether it be the road or the sidewalk. So traditionally or typically, many of them are very well aware of that and take the care to clear them. And certainly if they don't, if we know about it, we can certainly follow up with them. First of all, make sure that the sidewalk remains passable, but secondly, to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Okay. Is there an actual bylaw or is there a fine for this type of thing, particularly if it's a repetitive thing?
Through your worship, I believe there is. I can't quote you. Usually it's an obstruction infraction, probably much the same as if you were to obstruct the sidewalk with any other material or vehicle or obstruction.
I think for the most part, I think people, when they're doing this, they're just not thinking. I don't think that they're purposely doing this, but I think I brought this up because I just want people to be aware and be cognizant of the fact that there are those with walkers and wheelchairs that are euchred if this sort of thing happens. Thank you.
Councillor Bachman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just as a follow-up to that, I've taken note of this particular issue in the community this winter, and it seems to be whether it's a four-wheeler clearing a driveway, snowplow, there seems to be some time delay in our sidewalks going out and people getting out to shovel their driveways. And the really realistic or reality of it is, I think, education. As Mr. Cairns has noted, that some people do take that little extra consideration, but is there something that can be done in regards to just, annually reminding people of the importance of such type of clearance and how we can all work together to ensure that we do have accessible sidewalks.
Through your worship, certainly that's something we can do on an annual basis and probably should do at several points throughout the winter, just as a reminder, particularly as the winter drags on. Sometimes we all need reminders on what all of the rules and proper procedures are.
Councillor Key? Oh, sorry.
Yes, I was just going
Yeah.
to say, perhaps also we could put it on when we have our sound newsletter just before winter starts, reminding people of that, and in reference to also the website, because I would go a little further. It's not just people who are walkers or anybody, pedestrians, anybody. It's a real aggravation, and it's just a reality. We're in winter and people have to recognize that. Thank you.
And certainly, your worship, if I could just add, we'd really like to say thank you to those that do take the extra time. Some people look after the fire hydrants for us, which is terribly important. It helps everybody out. So we really do appreciate the extra effort that some make in terms of keeping those areas clear.
It is really appreciated when they do make that extra effort. Even cleaning the snow off a storm drain to make sure that the water is going to go away. I know I do that because otherwise we have a flood. Councillor Bachman, you.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, I mean, obviously modernization review is on the agenda tonight, and someone who specializes in communications, I appreciate the sound opportunities that is sent out once or twice a year, but I think we do have large investment into a system that already provides the ability to have weekly, monthly newsletters sent out to our constituents and our ratepayers to ensure that we have that ability to provide a certain level of service in communications that obviously we haven't really been able to achieve. And I'd really, really want to support this type of implementation of such system because I do believe we have these capabilities. So hopefully that can be a priority moving forward. Not only this, we have, recycling, contamination, those, continual messages that we need to send. I think that these provide solutions that we can get this message across more than once a year.
Okay, but are you suggesting like a weekly?
I think staff would, obviously going back several years, we as in the town did put forth an opportunity for a position in communications. I think historically in the 2 years I've been here, we haven't really, we still have a gap. So I would suspect that, we need to, when other municipalities are using these technologies and we have a large population and a lot more issues, I think it needs to be, we have to be a loud voice. I'm not going to provide the solution at this time. I think that's for staff to bring back, but I'm sure as part of our systems already that are paid for, we do have this capability. So it's just applying it. I don't know whose role this becomes, but that is something I know Mr. Harris, I believe, has been trying to find solutions over the last few years. So I would hope that staff would come back and maybe have some more information on what opportunities are available within the systems we do have to produce a monthly newsletter.
Yeah, I believe they have been. It's navigating the proper way of doing it that's been a bit of a challenge without getting into the weeds. But, there are certain things that certainly can go on the website as well and be put out there so that people get the message. Any other questions? Councillor Bachman?
Is for Mr. Thompson. I had heard that there was a fire on Albert Street, possibly on the weekend, and I was told that fire prevention officer, Mr. John Tuck, was first on scene, and I understand because of his heroic efforts that lives were saved this past Friday morning, and I just wanted to know if there was any truth to this.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to all council. Thank you for bringing this up. On Friday morning around 10:20 or so, we did have a structure fire on Albert Street, near the end of Albert Street. The fire came in as a fully involved structure with people trapped in it. We had an excellent response time. That being said, Fire Prevention Officer Tuck happened to be at the Old Victory School, which is just right around the corner from there. He was able to be on scene very quickly. And I think you coined an excellent term there, and heroic. We don't say this very often around here. We don't like to press our egos too much, but not only John Tuck, but I also want to make note of EMS attendant, Olivia Parry. Many of you might know her more as Olivia Ostrom, as well as one of the neighborhood gentlemen on Albert Street, Steve Molyneux. Between the three of them, I believe they saved lives. They saved one life for sure, in my opinion, maybe another life as well, in the actions that they performed while they were able to be there so quickly. When we got fire trucks there, we were able to assess them, but the heroes of the day were John Tuck, Olivia, and Steve. And Mr. Tuck, as an employee of the town, has been a volunteer firefighter for 35 years. And that's a huge commitment to the community. He deserves to be recognized, as do these other two members. And they had a very good day. And the town's lucky to have them, as are the people they rescued. I believe they're alive and well today because of the efforts of these three.
Well, please pass along, my sincere gratitude to these people on behalf of myself. And I can't speak for council, but I'm certain everybody here, has the same sentiment.
Yeah, I believe Chief Thompson's there's letters going out to thank them for this deed, correct?
Through you, Ms. Mayor, yes, absolutely. We'll be recognizing John Tuck and Olivia Parry through our organizations, and Mr. Molyneux will be receiving some recognition from the town.
Councilor McCann.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Well, you kind of read my mind there, which is a dangerous thing to do. That I had the same thought that were letters going out. And do we have a policy in town that, or some sort of a protocol to recognize these unsung heroes when things like this happen? Anybody want to take
I'm
it?
not sure if that question's for me or whether it was for
Well,
you.
sure. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Thompson, that would be fine. Yeah.
To my knowledge, I don't know that we have an official protocol in place. This is not a normal occurrence by any means. I'm not sure that there needs to be or should be, maybe that's up to council, an official process, but recognizing these people in the media, as I'm sure is going to happen from this conversation, is important, as well as there are other avenues for us to recognize people, especially the emergency responders, that the EMS manager and myself might be pursuing. And Mr. Molyneux will be receiving a letter from the town.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Backman?
Yes, this question is for Mr. Cairns. Mr. Cairns, I was contacted in the last month by a fella resident in the Granite Harbor area, and they made note, specifically, they, I guess, heard my comments about cleaning up the salt dock back in December. And it was my understanding they had, followed up, and they really did point out the garbage bin missing at the boat launch. And I know that the boat launch isn't active now, but it is really an active area. And with the salt dock, you can't exactly see the garbage can at the head of the rugged trail. And realistically, people who are on the salt dock enjoying that view, and based on the garbage I picked up, it was a lot of fast food stuff. They're not thinking to drop this at the trailhead at the fitness trail. So I'm wondering, if it's possible, if we get that blue bin back out there and can chain it up again, and maybe it will make a difference, because I have, as I stated, people in the area are making note, and with the heavy snowfall, we don't really have the opportunity to see what's all been littered. So I like to believe, again, going back to the concept of Disney, you don't see garbage because there's garbage cans everywhere you step. So I was just wondering, is it possible that we could maybe put that out and add that to our collection process for the remainder of the season? Sorry.
Through you, Your Worship. Certainly that's something we can do. It's not part of the normal winter activities, I guess. And I would like maybe to take the opportunity to encourage folks to, if you bring it with you, perhaps take it back out, especially if you're out ice fishing. I would encourage everyone to make sure that they, clean up after. We should all be cleaning up after ourselves as well. So, and I realize that's doesn't always happen, but certainly we can give it a shot and see. But certainly we can give it a try again through the season. I'm not sure how accessible it can remain down there. We don't do snow removal on the salt dock itself. I think obviously the salt operations are the primary operations down there, and they're the ones that kind of take care of making it accessible to the vehicles down there. So, but we can certainly give it a shot.
I really appreciate that, Mr. Cairns, and I think Mayor McGarvey has noted that cleanup in that area is something we do need to consider in the near future, and I do hope to have further discussions about that in the future. Thank you.
Councillor Keith?
Yes, I'm just going to add to that. I think it's a good idea to give it a try, but I would hope that Mr. Cairns or staff are keeping an idea as to, again, how much time is taken to clear snow away from this receptacle, etc. And I really think, again, it shows that we need an education campaign basically on take it home, just as you take your dog for a walk, you poop and scoop, so to speak. Then if you're going to eat, take your garbage back home with you, because I think there gets to be a point where somebody wants a receptacle in one spot and then there's another gathering spot. And at some point we have to say, it's not just the cans, it has also to do with the amount of staff and employees we have. And when those tasks are being done, we also have to take into account what other tasks aren't. So I think the picture isn't just, I see the point here, but I think it's not just a one stop. There's a whole impact. It's like when you throw the stone on the water. So I really hope there will be some analysis of this. Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else? Okay, we'll get on with the rest of the meeting. We have 2 deputations tonight. And our first deputation is from Ann Haynes, Account Manager, Muskoka Parry Sound MPAC. So welcome, Ann. There you are.
Hi.
And to begin with, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna miss you.
I know I'm going to miss you guys too. This will be my last council meeting. So yeah,
Wow.
I was gonna end on that note, but
Oh,
spoiler
sorry,
alert.
sorry.
It's okay, no problem. Yeah, it's been great working with you guys. So yeah, I've got a little update tonight to share.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, am I presenting or is it somebody working that? I can present and share my screen, but I just wanted to check the protocol.
Please go ahead and present, Anne.
Okay,
Okay.
great. I'll just share my screen. Okay, so we'll go here. So there we go. Well, thank you for that welcome. And yeah, for those that don't know me or haven't seen me, my name's Ann Haynes, and I'm now a regional manager in another zone, but I am the former account manager in Muskoka Parry Sound, and I booked this delegation before the change. So just want to highlight a few things with respect to the partnership reports that went out. And I do also want to let you know that I believe Caitlin Potts, who's with our team, is on the line tonight as well. So we'll maybe get her to pop on and say hi at the end. But just wanted a quick update and to check in on the partnership report. And obviously, this is probably first and foremost on maybe some of your minds, the next province-wide assessment update. We do not know when the next update will occur or the evaluation date. That will be up to the province to direct us there. And as soon as we know, we will certainly share that with you. And in the meantime, you know, through COVID and with the pause on the update, we've been very busy keeping our database current, working closely with municipalities, obviously, and property owners to capture any changes to property that's taken place. We're still monitoring our market, analyzing sales, rents, and what's going on in our communities, and engaging with our municipalities and the industry as well as the government to understand what's happening locally and provincially as well as regionally. So we'll just kind of move into the actual valuation date. So this is what's not changing. We know that we're still going to be valuing as of January 1st, 2016. That is the legislated valuation date. And any changes that happen to a property in the town of Parry Sound or across the province, we'll make those changes and keep the data current, but it will be as of Jan 1, 2016. So if you haven't seen the partnership report, there's a link that was provided in an email that went out. We sent them out in January, but just some highlights here that I just wanted to share with you. So number one, we certainly shifted our priorities from the assessment update to meeting municipal needs in 2020. We also came up with new ways to access information to capture new assessment within our municipalities. So we pivoted there and got into more of a digital exchange and some other curbside pickup in our municipal offices or viewing plans, just to pivot to make sure that we kept that new assessment fresh for all of our municipalities. And we certainly stayed connected virtually, mostly. I was at Roma last January. That was the last conference I was at in 2020, but there was a lot of virtual connections throughout 2020, and we're still hearing from you. And we are also transforming the ways that we share data with our municipalities. So Municipal Connect is the platform that your staff utilize, and we are actually building out a new platform and a new Municipal Connect for them. So that is underway currently. If you want to read more up on the partnership report, there's a link that was in an email, but you can also access it from the information on the screen. So COVID was a bit tricky. We were paused again at certain points. Our offices were closed for the majority of that time frame. So we had to pivot, as mentioned earlier. We had to look at different ways to collect information to keep that new assessment coming in, which we know is important to you as a council and as a municipality. So we were able to share digital plans with over 200 municipalities across the province and curbside pickup in 80 municipalities. And we did have some curbside pickup or actually going in and viewing plans set up in the town of Parry Sound. So we did work with your building department and set that up successfully. So that's a great report out, just to let you know that that was very, very positive exchange. And in turn, you know, you sharing your permits with us or those plans, we turn them into assessment. Just a reminder, you then turn that assessment into taxation based on the assessment. So what we found is the sooner we got that information, and obviously getting it digitally was fantastic for those that could do that. It pumped out and was a quick turnaround for realizing that new assessment. So I will share that in 2020, we had a $6.9 million forecast for new assessment in the town of Parry Sound. And we actually are proud to report that we achieved 8.3 million. So it was higher than the original forecast. And we are picking up new assessment in the town of Parry Sound 86.8% of the time within 1 year of the occupancy of that new home or that change in the structure. So again, partnership with your building department is key, getting those status updates, getting the permits timely, and any digital plans or to be able to view plans if you don't have digital was key. So you can still connect with us, as mentioned earlier by your worship. I'm leaving, so right now on the map you see Zone 5. That's Parry Sound Muskoka is in that large swath, and I'm moving down and looking after Zone 1. So I'm going to be moving to Southwest Ontario. So it's a big area, and I'll have a team there that I'll be leading, and I'm excited to do that. And I just started last week. So this was part of sort of my transition off of my former role, but I just wanted to let you know that you can still keep in touch with us through monthly webinars, through our newsletters. Council can sign up for these as well and attend these as well as staff. And you've got a great team here still left. So Rebecca Webb is our regional manager, and Caitlin Potts, and I don't know if she can pop on and just show a face to a name so you can see Caitlin. She does a lot of work behind the scenes, putting together presentations, answering inquiries, working with your staff, but she is on as well tonight. So I just want to take a really quick opportunity to thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for a chance to help service Town Parry Sound over almost 24 years in this area. So I am going to miss everybody too. And I will open it up at this time for any questions you might have.
Okay. All right. Maybe if you can stop sharing the screen so I can see everybody then, Ann.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Sorry.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah. And there's Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin. Okay. Are there any questions of, I guess, Ann or Caitlin? No? Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
For being here and making the presentation. And welcome to Caitlin. And take care of yourself. And I'm sure we'll see you in the province somewhere at some point, but good luck in the new position and all the best. Thank you for your support too.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. So have a good night. We'll jump off now. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
All right, our next presentation is from the Parry Sound Chamber of Commerce. I have Kristy Kapowski and Gail Burrows. Is Gail on line too, or is it just you, Kristy?
Just me tonight, Mayor.
Okay, all right.
I do have a presentation as well. Would you like me to share my screen?
I guess so, yep.
Okay, all right. There we have it. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay.
opportunity to present our year in review. My name is Gail Burrows, and I've been involved with the Parry Sound Area Chamber of Commerce in the capacity of a volunteer on the board of directors for the last 7 years. This past January, the board voted to accept me in the position of chair for a term of 1 year. The Parry Sound Area Chamber of Commerce has strength in the community and a resolve to provide our members with the tools that they need to succeed in business. And we represent 175 over a vast 7 municipality geographic area. While this is not our first deputation and update before your council, this is the first time in the 7 years that I've been on the board that we are not approaching you to ask for money. Let that sink in. So we have been able to refine our operations, and we do not require municipal support to open the doors. While we're not asking for money to support our operations, we are asking for your support. Specifically, this community has been severely impacted, and it's going to take all of our partners to work together to rise from the ashes. So how can you support us? First, providing a representative from your council to sit on our board of directors in an advisory role to help in that two-way communication between your municipality and our operations at the chamber. Demand that that representative bring back to council an update on our projects and our actions. If your municipality wishes to support us with funds, it's always welcome. And just know that those funds will be spent on projects to help our community and not on our operations. Other ways you can support us is follow us on our social media, engage in our social media, share, comment, subscribe to our email newsletters, attend our virtual events, see what we're doing to help support the business community. Our board is diverse in skills and the businesses that we represent. We have an energetic and engaged board, and they are motivated to help this community overcome the impacts of COVID on business. This board's been working diligently in a very short period of time to adapt their strategic plan to the newly evolved situation, and they've had an immediate impact on their efforts. The foundation on which a chamber is built is to be the voice of business in our community. And this voice has been forced to evolve. While we temporarily cannot operate in an office, we can't host networking events, we can't have gala award ceremonies, we have been able to support our members in other ways. Effective entrepreneurs know that when the business model needs to be adapted and changed in the market, this board is comprised of motivated, talented entrepreneurs, and they are all working to maintain relevancy of the Chamber of Commerce and support everyone in new ways. While this board drives the bus, Kristy Kapowski, our executive director, makes sure it's running in tip-top shape. This August, we were faced with resignations on our board and members that needed to step away and focus on their own livelihood. We reached out to Kristy for a short-term solution to maintain some stability, and we are lucky that she returned, and subsequently the board has seen her value even at a distance as she's moved away from this community, and the board has extended her contract indefinitely. She brings such great energy to our board, and we are so pleased to have her. I'm pleased to introduce you to Kristy Kapowski, who will review our board agenda, strategic plan, and the year in general. Thank you.
Thank you for that warm introduction, Gail. I appreciate your words. I'm Kristy Kapowski, the Executive Director for the Parry Sound Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm humbled and proud to be sitting in this position once again. I'm so thankful for our area's businesses and their resiliency throughout 2020. It's been a tough year on everybody, and the Chamber was included in the impacts due to COVID-19. We decided to pivot in late 2020 and early 2021. At the AGM, we onboarded a new slate of directors, all of which are poised for success and excited to help our area's businesses recover and return to their thriving status. We've been focusing on our 4 pillars: membership, governance, advocacy, and networking in the creation of our strategic plan. This plan will be the framework for us to focus on throughout the year. We're proud to say that our organization has had an overhaul. That overhaul has included returning to the basis of what the Parry Sound Area Chamber of Commerce stands for. That's business support. I would like to present to you our year in review now. We look forward to your support as you have in previous years. And we look forward to working with the council person that you choose to represent your municipality on our board of directors. Their contribution and participation every month helps us see what your municipality is doing, and it helps your municipality understand what our organization is also doing. This will help the two of us become a unified voice and work together to help our community and our businesses thrive once again throughout 2021. Our theme is to connect, grow, and thrive in the next 3 years. We hope you enjoy our year in review, and we look forward to your support in the upcoming year. Thank you very much. All right.
Thanks, Kristy.
Thank you for that. So I can open it up for any questions. The AGM year in review is also available on our website. So if you'd like to have a closer look at it, it's available there.
Okay. Are there any questions of Kristy this evening? Councillor Bachman?
Thank you, Kristy, for your presentation this evening. I just wanted to say thank you for the hard work that you've put in to fill in your board positions and continuing to work on your strategic plan. As I attended the AGM last year as well as this year, one of my questions was, as per your governance, to be a sustainable organization. I am really glad and happy to hear this evening that, you know, the municipal contributions is not a matter of focusing on operations, but it is more on a level of supporting the businesses. So kudos for your team to work towards that. I understand the challenges of memberships and how organizations that are membership dependent really have to look at solutions that enable those type organizations that are membership dependent to find other revenue sources. And I just wanted to know, you know, as an organization that is heavily reliant on that membership, what does the chamber have planned as part of the strategic plan that's been reviewed thus far? Can you share any details with this council this evening?
Absolutely. So our strategic plan is focusing on our 4 pillars, as we were saying, membership being that the top of the priority list, along with the networking opportunities and belonging to an organization that will support the local businesses. So that's really the pillar that we're standing on the most this year. Our strategic plan right now is outlining how some of our educational opportunities are going to impact the business community and how we can assist in the transition into a little bit more virtual for some of the businesses who haven't made that transition yet. We are lining up some keynote speakers to create some networking events and some educational events as well. So we've also put together a resource page on our website, working on our marketing and marketing the businesses in the area who are members as well. So really just focusing on that value for membership and making the chamber that relevant pillar for businesses to rely on.
Just as a follow-up, Your Worship, with regards to your membership, does your membership benefits support the employees of a business can they reap the benefits of the membership, or is it just the employer?
So it's for the entire organization.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Any Councillor Horn?
Thank you. Thank you, Kristy and Gail, for your presentation. As the advisory representative for the town of Parry Sound, I look forward for the next year and 3/4 working with you and the new board, a very exciting new board. Members are very keen to put the chamber first and foremost in terms of representing the businesses of this community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay. Thanks, Kristy.
Okay.
You have a good evening now, and thank you for the presentation, and thank Gail for her efforts there too.
Will do. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, the next is reports, and I'm going to go by who's on the screen as first. So Councillor Borneman, you're on the screen first.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. On the 17th, I attended an ad hoc committee meeting at Belvedere with respect to some property matters. On the 22nd, I attended a tender opening at the airport regarding some brush clearing. February 22nd was the Belvedere Heights board meeting. We heard a presentation from our insurance provider. Of course, costs are up roughly 7% across the board. Our financial report indicated that through the month of January, at least, that costs were in line with projections. I understand today was a big day, both at West Parry Sound Health Center and at Belvedere, as a good many staff and primary caregivers at both institutions received vaccinations, which is nothing but good news for the community. February 24th, I attended a regular monthly meeting at the airport where Gervais Forest Products of Sturgeon Falls were awarded the brush clearing contract for just over $200,000. Sounds like a lot of money, but it was actually under the projected costs that had been provided. So that's good news. Mr. Mayor, I believe in an earlier report, you had congratulated Graham Ritchie. Graham's had another great weekend recently. He and his partner, Antoine Sear, finished 7th at a Nordic World Skiing Championship in Oberstdorf, Germany. They were the youngest. This was a team event where they alternated laps. They were the youngest team in the event, so this augurs really well for their future. I want to wish Graham nothing but the best as he continues on his career. And that's my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good. That's good news. Thanks for sharing that. Next one I have is Councillor McCann.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow council, staff, and public. Councillor Borneman has covered the Belvedere Heights Board of Management meeting that was held, I guess last week. The month of February is just flowing by so quickly. So moving from that, very next day, Thursday evening, I attended via Zoom the monthly meeting of the West Parry Sound District Museum. And we received the business manager's report, a lot of housekeeping, the treasurer's report. We're brought up to date on a fundraising initiative. And of course, the museum does remain closed due to COVID, but I'd like folks to know that there's a lot going on and the staff is busy. There's an awful lot of work that can be and is being done in terms of managing the collections and social media and such. The staff is taken care of. So we're anticipating and looking forward to the future as things hopefully at some point get back to some kind of normal or new normal. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have had no meetings, and since I'm hardly allowed to leave the house, I have nothing to report this evening. I would also like to echo Councillor Borneman's congratulations to Graham Ritchie for his wonderful achievement. Congratulations, Graham, and to his family. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Horn.
Good evening, everyone. On Monday, February 22nd, I attended the Parry Sound Area Planning Board. There were a number of consent applications approved for the Township of McKellar. There was 2 for the municipality of Whitestone. There was 3 zoning applications approved. And also there was a resolution passed by the Parry Sound Area Planning Board for the town of Parry Sound leaving. So that resolution was passed by the planning board. So now the next process is that resolution goes to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and they have the final say in the request for the town leaving the planning board. There is no definite timeline on that, so we will keep everyone posted. So thank you very much. That's my report.
Super. Thank you. Councillor Bachman.
Okay, I'm going to try this again. With respect to, I'm just following up to last council meeting report, and I do want to note that on February 5th, I attended the Park to Park annual general meeting where a new board was elected, and I'd like to congratulate the new board. And I think that what our goal is with Park to Park in the upcoming future, as it historically has been since my involvement, a reliance on funding for 2 municipalities, being the town of Parry Sound and Seguin, whereas this is a regional, actually district trail that crosses from Parry Sound, Muskoka, including municipalities, Huntsville, Lake of Bags, Township of Parry, McMurth, Monteith, McDougall, Carling, of course, town of Parry Sound and Seguin. And our goal with the new board will be bringing on all those partners who have sadly over the years fallen off and not put this trail as a priority as part of their budget. So as part of that, we're hoping to really go after some funding and try to support this organization moving forward. And that's my report for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Keith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and the public. I would just want to add, because it was the only one meeting that I attended to, in reference to the Parry Sound Area Planning Board. As chair, I would like to indicate, first of all, it was great to see the municipalities support the idea of the town wanting to leave the area planning board. However, the process still is going to take some time, as that is one factor in a variety of factors that are looked at before a recommendation will be made to the Minister of Housing. So I think, just so one doesn't get real anxious right away, there will still be some time before we'll find out the final results. And I'm sure we're all hoping for the best. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so council staff and public, February 18th, I attended the Zoom announcement for the paramedicine enhancement in the District of Parry Sound. $2.9 million in funding of this program is certainly greatly appreciated, and we put to good use. When the paramedicine program has been implemented in our district, it's always worked well and has had positive results. So we're really looking forward to this program and serving the whole district, which is absolutely fantastic. So we have to thank the Ministry of Health for this contribution. February 19th, I had an AMO Audit Committee meeting. February 25th was the AMO Executive Committee meeting. February 28th, I attended a special drive-by celebration for Ray and Shirley Hanna. It was their 71st anniversary. So congratulations to both Ray and Shirley on an absolutely fantastic milestone. There's not many get there. So congratulations to both of you. Also, over the past 2 weeks, I've had a number of asks to talk to media and even a greater number of people that have expressed their concerns with regard to the actions of our public health unit. All concerned about the lockdown and how it's hurting businesses. Not only are the municipalities feeling that they're being left in the dark, but the healthcare professionals sometimes are as well. And I think that what I'm going to do is give a highlight of some information that I received from the West Parry Sound Health Center, because I get more information from them than certainly what I seem to get from public health. So Councillor Borneman, I believe, mentioned, who was it, mentioned the vaccinations that were done. So big step towards, this came from the health center, which is great. Big steps towards immunity have been taken over the past few weeks with the delivery of 912 doses of COVID-19 vaccine. Both Pfizer and Moderna are being provided to prioritized recipients. All priority populations are established by Ontario's Vaccine Distribution Task Force and the province's healthcare leadership, and led regionally by public health. Total of 474 doses were provided in late February that included first and second doses for residents at Lakeland Long-Term Care, the first dose for Lakeland staff, essential care providers, and a first dose for West Parry Sound Health Center staff who provide services inside Lakeland. A first dose for some alternate level care healthcare patients awaiting long-term care, and some high-risk prioritized staff, and first doses for residents of Belvedere Heights Home for the Aged. They go on, we're so proud of the hard work and dedication and perseverance of our team, residents and families, said Belvedere Administrator Cammie Johnson. Rolling up her sleeves places us one step closer to return to normalcy for our residents and loved ones. And today, Tuesday, March 2nd, an additional 438 people rolled up their sleeves, and that includes 178 first doses for staff and essential caregivers at Belvedere Heights, and 260 first doses for prioritized staff and alternate level of care patients at the West Parry Sound Health Center. So there is some rollout of vaccinations happening, and I really want to thank the West Parry Sound Health Center for the update. It says that following vaccination of initial priority populations, the provincial plan will then move to the citizens 80 years of age and older, and community-based vaccination clinic details will be made available hopefully soon. So that's my report. And again, I want to thank the Health Center for their information. On with the agenda, and the first item tonight is 911, which is a budget overview. And we have Ms. Phillips. There she is. You have the floor.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council, and the public. So just one moment as I share my screen here. Can everyone see my screen and hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes? Okay, we're good to go then. Okay, so tonight I'll deliver a 2021 budget overview presentation with some preliminary information. So on the agenda for tonight, we'll go through what is behind the 2021 budget, the fiscal policy framework that guides the budget preparation, and then we'll mention some continuous improvement initiatives that the town is undergoing, as well as describe how we're currently benchmarking against other municipalities. I'll go through some of the external transfers that impact the town's budget, as well as the pandemic fiscal challenges that are ahead. I will also outline some operating budget impacts that are expected to occur and draft capital budget figures. So, and then in the end of the presentation, I'll outline some of the upcoming budget review meetings. Okay, so firstly, each year we provide budget training to our managers and share guidelines and expected impacts to assist them as they prepare their budget. So that's how the budget process begins. And then within the review stage, submissions are reviewed and challenged, and inputs are analyzed. And then those budgets are further refined, and the result is recommended to council as a draft budget. So finally, the budget deliberations, the public budget deliberations take place. And then at the end of those, the estimates are established with a bylaw. So a lot goes behind the budget each year, a lot of review and analysis. So this just outlines that process. And then the fiscal policy framework. So two council policies guide the development of the budget each year. So the budget and financial controls policy, as well as the dedicated capital levy. So in the absence of a collective agreement, the 2021 range has been approved by council at the October 20th meeting to be between 1.8% and 3.6%. And then each year council allocates 1.8% increase towards aging infrastructure. So those are the guidelines that we strive to reach as we prepare our budget. So these are some continuous improvement initiatives that the town is undergoing. So we're undertaking an information technology modernization review. This review hopes to identify opportunities for greater efficiency and effective use of technology. Another example is we're also facilitating electronic submission of building and planning department applications to become more efficient. So that's another example of continuous improvement initiatives. We'll be advancing our asset management plan throughout the 2021 year to meet deadlines for core infrastructure of July 1st, 2021. And through the development of that plan, we will identify service levels with council to manage risk and inform asset management. So those are on the horizon. Some other continuous improvement initiatives here are the town's purchased new compactors at the land transfer station to reduce the waste delivery charges. So that's one way we're trying to control those costs. And we're participating in climate change initiatives, and solar project on the old landfill site is another project, continuous improvement project, as well as we're trying to manage energy uses at the water and wastewater plants through the fan reconfiguration to reduce the amount of energy required there. So the town also participates in a BMA study, which collects information on municipalities. So around 110 Ontario municipalities participate in the study, and we track year-over-year performance and measure our performance against similar municipalities. So that will form part of our annual budget document, those comparisons. So external transfers for 2021. External transfers or levies make up about 29% of the tax supported expenses of the town. So this makes up a large portion of the town's budget. In 2021, the largest increase here is the OPP increase, which is around $66,000. The town will be able to cover the increase through our OPP cost stabilization reserve. So overall, the increases and the decreases of these external levies are going to result in a net zero impact in the operating budget for 2021. If council has any questions as we go through the slides, please feel free to raise your hand or let me know if you have questions. So some of the pandemic fiscal challenges, there's operations uncertainty. As we go through the budget process, departments are considering how the pandemic will impact their budgets. And we know that many parks and rec or Stocky Center revenues are at risk after the onset of the pandemic. So we're also trying to manage that as we prepare our operating budget. And some of the way we're doing that is reviewing discretionary expenses. So consulting engagements, contract services, reviewing part-time labor, summer student complement, and vacant positions to see how we can optimize or reduce costs. Conferences and training, so those are different types of discretionary expenses that managers and directors will be taking a good look at as we try to meet the constraints for 2021.
Councillor Bachman has a question.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. Today, the Ontario government announced support of $25 million for the arts and arts organizations. And I was just wondering if the Stocky Center if we know if the Stocky Center falls into any eligibility under the newly released information by the government today.
So on that, through you, Mr. Mayor, I haven't received any formal notifications on that announcement and how it specifically may impact the town's finance at the Stocky Center or otherwise. But as we go into operating budget discussions or in the preparation of finalizing the draft, I'll be sure to look further into that and see how that may impact our budget.
Thank you, Ms. Phelps.
You're welcome. So some other operating budget impacts. So the town is being impacted by insurance increases, so around $100,000, and many municipalities across Ontario are experiencing these premium increases due to the market and other factors. So also in response to the pandemic and a downturn, there's reduced investment earnings expected. So this could be about $65,000. We are starting negotiations for the union increase for salaries, wages, and benefits. So that would impact the budget. And also assessment growth is very limited for 2021 at 0.3%. So this only amounts to about $34,000. So that is very low compared to previous years. So this means that there's not a lot to work with there for growth. On a typical year, we would have an assessment update for 2021, but for this year, because of the pandemic, that is postponed. So $113,000 has an approximate 1% impact on the tax rate. So to visualize how much extra costs or additional revenues that we could create could impact the tax rate, that's a good way to visualize what the impact would be. The capital budget in perspective. So the draft 2021 capital budget, around 5 million projects are being carried forward from 2020, and 3.1 million new projects are being proposed in the draft capital budget. This is about 8.1 million. 2.2 million of those projects are covered with grant funding, and only 214,000 approximately are funded from property taxation. So the amount funded from property taxation in the draft has decreased by 9.6% from 2020 to 2021. So that will be at the next, at the special budget meeting, we'll have a look at a draft at that time. And that is how the property taxation funded portion has changed from 2020 to 2021. But more is planned to go towards future infrastructure replacement. So that's a good thing in the proposed budget.
Ms. Phillips, Councillor Bachman has her hand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. In regards to the 2.2 million in grant funding, as part of the BMA study, do we have information that shows in comparison what grant funding other municipalities are receiving in comparison to, to all municipalities or whoever participates in the study?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not certain whether that information is available, but I can definitely look into that as I'm reviewing the BMA study for future meetings. We haven't provided that in the past, but I can definitely look into that to see if that information is available.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So upcoming budget review meetings. So on March 9th, a special budget meeting is planned, and at that meeting we'll review capital budget items, and a meeting is set up for March 23rd for operating and community requests and grants will form part of that meeting. And we hope to have a bylaw ready for approval by April 6th, 2021. So much work is still going into the operating budget in the preparation and review stage. So we hope to have that available around March 16th and get that posted on the website around that date for the public to see prior to that meeting. That concludes my overview presentation. Does anyone have any comments or questions at this time?
Councillor Bachman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just in regards to forecasting capital projects moving forward, I know we're focused on the 2021 budget, but do we have the capability to forecast capital projects such as the Wellness Center moving forward and the impact that these investments may have over the next year, 2 years, 3 years?
I'm just going to end my presentations for a moment so that I can see everybody. Okay, through you, Mr. Mayor. So over the next 6 months, we'll be preparing asset management data. And as we do that, we will we'll be compiling data for a long-term period. So as we collect that data, we'll have more forecasts and more updated forecasts with updated condition assessment information for all different types of assets. So we will be becoming more advanced where we can look at a long-term capital budget, hopefully in the years to come. I don't know if Clayton has anything to add there. To you, Mr. CA. Oh.
Yeah, through the mayor, I think this is I'd call it a work in process. The requirement for asset conditions, identifying the assets and their conditions, as the director mentioned, is a foundation building block. So we'll then be able to have future looking capital plans. The other element that we're currently working on, and council's aware, that development charge background study. So we're dealing with the repair and replacement. There's a lot of work in gathering that data and determining the condition of the assets. And then there's the new work that might be required to service future growth. So we're building that capital plan, if you like, from two angles: repairing, replacing what we have, and then what do we need to build new in order to service growth or expand to service the growth.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councilor McCann.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Phillips, just a question. I probably asked this some time ago as well. We're going back a bit there when you talk about the amounts, the projects moving forward from 2020, and that which included the grant money. So the values that are printed there, would that cost us another 2 million? Like, would I be seeing 7 million instead of 5 million if the grant wasn't there? Or so I'm just wondering, when you say that the money's included, how does that configure into the equation?
Yeah, yes, okay.
You know what I mean?
So every year we do annual capital replacement. We receive grants for from federal gas tax or OSIF for roads or core infrastructure. There's also grant monies that we receive for modernization or COVID. And those things are all to be applied against eligible projects. So as we prepare our capital budget, we consider which projects would be eligible for different types of grants. And we have funding agreements that may have requirements where we need to spend that grant monies over a certain period of time. So it's very detailed in how we analyze which projects we'll apply the grants to, and what is going to be available over the next year. So that's how that forms our capital budget.
So I guess what I'm asking is that the value that the value that we see in the budget, is that money out of our pocket? Does that I'm just trying to understand how the grant money configures into the amount for the project. And maybe I'm trying to oversimplify this or look for something that's too difficult, but I just, if you say 5 million, which includes $2 million in grants, is it 5 million out of pocket or is it 3 million out of pocket?
So there is, through you, Mr. Mayor, there's a mix of different projects. Some projects would proceed only if we get the grant, and other projects are projects where we prioritize which projects we're applying the grants to. I don't know if that specifically answers that question, other than as we go through the capital items, you'll be able to see which items have a grant applied. The monies that are out of pocket, there are other projects where we fund from reserve. So those may be the projects where we are choosing, where council would choose whether they're important to proceed as well. Maybe Clayton has a.
I was
I think
just
I know
gonna
what you're
CIO
saying,
wants
yeah.
to help me with that question as well.
Well, I'll take a different tack. We're going to be putting, based on the draft that's in front of you, including last year's carry forwards, we're putting $8 million worth of infrastructure work into the community. 6 million is going to be funded by reserves, perhaps debenture borrowing, a little bit of taxation, and we're getting 2 million from provincial grant funding. So total of $8 million worth of work, and 2 million of that is being funded from the province. If the work needed to be done and without those grants, we'd be going to the taxpayer or other sources of funding for that extra $2 million, 2.2.
Okay, well, that answers my question. That's what I was trying to get you. Thank you.
Yeah, because in that capital budget perspective, it says if everything goes right, there's only $214,614 funded from property taxation.
Right. Okay, no, that's good. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, Mr. Harris?
Just a related comment. I think the town has been very successful, particularly in the last year or so, in getting grant funding. This goes back to a request from Councillor Keith a couple of meetings ago, where we were going to track some, it was related at the time to water and sewer statistics, the number of meters and those kinds of things. One of the things that Stephanie and I have been talking about is tracking the amount of grant funding that we get. And whether it's the red grant that we're hoping to get through us for the DBA, the Stocky Center's got grants. The next item on the agenda is a modernization grant. So we've been very successful. And I think that doesn't happen easily, and it doesn't happen without good applications and a good rationale. So we want to start tracking so that council's aware and the public's aware the extent of, I guess, the payback of putting that effort into grant writing and seeking out grant applications. And I know Councillor Bachman tonight was asking about grants, and if people hear about grants, we're happy to track them down and get whatever monies we get or can get out of a grant program. But I think we've been successful. That's some statistics that I think we'd like to start tracking so we can just measure that success. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bachman.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, Mr. Harris, one of the things I've learned in my professional hat that I wear is that the government likes to fund projects that are supported by studies that the government funds. So I think if we can really align align certain costs that we need to implement as part of our operations or strategic planning, and really work closely with the government to support, to find projects that really are supported under the studies that they're funding, and which we all know changes every year, but having that fluid plan like we have, I believe will definitely bring more opportunities to decrease our taxation and hopefully go after more funding. So I really appreciate the effort that you're putting forth in this.
Thank you. It's a group effort.
Any other questions on this? Nope. Okay, going to item 921. It's moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn. The council received the attached report on municipal modernization program intake, 1 technology review final report, and that council authorized staff to submit an expression of interest for a GIS maturity assessment under the municipal modernization program intake 2. It was an extremely interesting report, and I guess we're certainly in need of some updating. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just make a few opening comments and then turn it over to Forrest. He can add some comments from his perspective. At a high level, we recognize that if we want to become more efficient, more effective, that's most likely to occur through the use of technology. So last year we applied for a grant funding. And we got 90% funding on this project. And the idea of our application was to look at opportunities, one, where we could achieve greater efficiencies, cost savings, either now or into the future through the use of technology. We also included a section where we asked the consultant to contact the area municipalities and see where they were with their technology and see if there were opportunities perhaps to move forward together, either as a group or with individual municipalities to save dollars on technology. And just to Councillor Backman's point, we know the province wants people to work together, so we included that section as part of our grant application because we thought that would be something that would be appealing to them, that we would not only looking at how we can improve ourselves with technology, but work with our partners, our neighbors. So that review is just completed. There's a number of recommendations. It's a fairly extensive report. And what it does is gives us a roadmap for the future. It may change as things evolve, but it's a very good place to start. We're very satisfied with the consultants. And there's a lot of recommendations that we're going to start working through. I'll turn it over to Forrest. He was certainly the lead on the project, working with the consultants, and he's going to give a little bit more of the background.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. You're right. It is a very large report. It's quite encompassing and describes, I guess, in large part, really what we do as the town, the services we provide. A lot of the work that we provide and the various tasks that we perform behind the scenes, it's really a culmination of what it takes to make government operate in the modern era. As Mr. Harris said, our business is largely built on technology now. There are very few services we can offer our public without some sort of technological involvement. And I think as we entered COVID in 2020, that became even more true in trying to figure out how we could adapt the services that we offer. And many of them are integral to how we serve our public. And it was kind of fortuitous that we had applied for the funding back in the previous December. That we'd be talking so much about modernization and how technology has really shaped and changed things. So it was actually kind of in many ways a blessing in disguise that we had this opportunity to have this really thorough, in-depth study. Working with the consultant was eye-opening in a lot of ways. The way they analyzed various business processes really got right down into the subtasks, and some of that can be identified in a sample business process optimization that they provided for us relating to accounts payables. While I think we had some inclination that there was some inefficiency, they were able to very clearly quantify that and qualify that and provide recommendations for improvement. And I'm very happy that we have this roadmap. I think it's incredibly important that not only staff but council recognize that this is going to be a living document. We're going to be working through the various objectives that are listed in the action plan. I believe there's 28 of them, and some of them we'll be able to work through quicker than others, but all will take a concerted effort from everyone. And just as Clayton said, we'll be adding items to it. And the second part of this report under phase 2, I very much hope that a GIS maturity study could dovetail nicely with the phase 1 side of the recommendations, and help us become that modern municipality. given a lot of our ambitions to be a leader in various areas, including energy, I think we can do it. In fact, I know we can. I think we just we'll work together as a team, and we can modernize. Any questions?
Just a quick one for us before I go to Councillor McCann. There were a number of blackout areas in the report. Was that intentional, or was that just something that happened?
Yeah, so that was intentional. There were a certain number of redactions that we performed on the document due to some cybersecurity concerns.
Okay.
Council can be provided the unredacted copy for sure.
Okay. All right. No, that's good to know. I just wondered. I was curious to see these all through it, and I thought, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, I didn't like it either, but it was something that we needed to do to protect the municipality.
Well, no, if it has to do with cybersecurity, it's absolutely. I know there's been a number of big corporations that have been hacked lately, and it's not a good thing. Councillor McCann.
Just a comment, actually, that it is a very extensive report. I remember back in the day when you were an IT man, that meant you could put a PCI card in a desktop and you were king of the office because you knew how to do that. But today, it's just like there's no end to it. And I recall at one point when the hospital contracted out a position of an IT man to come in and do what he could when he could. But today, when you look at what's at stake and what we're working with, it's just mind-blowing. So congratulations on this. And this is great vision. So I think we're definitely moving forward.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? No? Nope. Okay. Anyone opposed to the passing of this resolution? No, and that's carried. Okay, item 922. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, that whereas the town of Parry Sound received municipal modernization funding from the province of Ontario in 2019, whereas council placed uncommitted modernization funding into a modernization reserve on March 2020, whereas the purpose of the reserve is to fund projects that create efficiencies, lower end or avoid future costs, and whereas the effective use of technology represents a significant opportunity for creating efficiencies, whereas the town initiated the technology review in 2020 under intake 1 to identify opportunities for internal efficiencies using technology, including infrastructure, business processes, and systems. And whereas the review completed under intake 1 identified several important and corporate projects, whereas the town wishes to apply for provincial funding under intake 2, whereas one of the eligibility requirements for intake 2 is the municipality confirm that it has spent or allocated modernization funding received in 2019. Now therefore be it resolved that the uncommitted funds in the modernization reserve, $595,414.47, be allocated to initiatives identified in the technology review, including a small contingency, and further that staff report back to council for budget approval should there be a need to reallocate funds as additional information becomes available, such as changes in project scope and need to change priorities or new priorities, etc. Discussion.
Perhaps, Mr. Mayor, I could just,
yep,
just clarify for members of council, the public. We want to apply for another grant application, the same intake program that you just heard about, the modernization review. One of their requirements is for council to allocate the $595,000 we got in 2019. We haven't spent that. Council has been diligent in looking for the right opportunity, because although it was unconditional, the province's hope and desire was that we use the money to look for saving efficiencies and be more effective. this modernization review that you just heard identified 28 recommendations. So we're saying allocate the money in the reserve to implement the modernization review. We recognize that's a big ask. It's necessary if we want to apply for intake 2. And we recognize it's a big ask, but that's why in the conclusion, we're saying that we're still not going to spend that money without coming back to council for approval. And that list may change, and all of that is subject to council approval. But what it does now is earmark those monies for the modernization review projects, and that should satisfy the province. So we can qualify for our second application for funding, which is in the item you just approved.
Yep, and that's good. So anything further, Councillor Bachmann? Well, I think she's gone to Minnie Mouse mode again. And she's frozen. Are you back?
Is this better?
Well, it is now.
Sorry about that. And I apologize if my question is a repeat. Just in regards to this implementation, again, I guess going to the forecasting, how does this affect, I think implementing a lot of this stuff is definitely needed, but how does it affect our budgets moving forward? Like we have this funding that is available. Is that what you're speaking to, is intake 2 would provide additional support for the objectives that we're trying to achieve through this long term?
Through the mayor, one of the references in the technology review that we just spoke about refers to a GIS maturity project. So where we are with our GIS in our municipality, GIS and all its applications are fundamental for various types of infrastructure, for planning, and it really is important in all many of the projects that we do. Many of the departments use it. So we wanted to understand where we are with GIS. We think there's some improvements that can be achieved in GIS, and we want to get the data in there, make sure we're taking advantage of opportunities. Maybe we could have just a simple thing as having handheld equipment for various staff members. So when they're out in the field looking at infrastructure, they can either update or confirm the information that's already on the GIS system, so to improve the accuracy and completeness of data. So that's what intake 2, that's the project we want to apply for. And this is a step in qualifying the town for applying for intake 2. We have to allocate the monies that are in that reserve to something.
No, thank you, Mr. Hare. Just as a follow-up, Mayor McGarvey, in regards to, you had mentioned, Mr. Harris, that the specific allocations in the modernization study, which are laid out beginning on pages 6-3, the actual work plan. Is this work plan in stone? Is that what we're approving this evening?
No. In fact, if you look at the bottom of the resolution, that staff report back to council for budget approval. So that's the first thing. We're not spending that money without council approval. Should there be a need to reallocate funds as additional information becomes available, some projects may disappear, some may get bigger, some may get smaller. new projects may be added. So we wanted to make sure that council understood that you have still a great deal of control over the use of these funds. Even though you're allocating it to those uses, you get a lot of say into how and when it's spent.
But the point being that you made, Mr. Harris, was that if we show that we've allocated towards this modernization, then we can apply for intake 2 to capitalize on more funding. So
that's correct.
Yeah. Councillor Keith.
Thank you. I just had two questions, and one is there a time limit in reference to applying for this grant in reference to intake 2, and is there a maximum amount?
Through the mayor, I believe the deadline is March 15th to apply. There, if I recall correctly, in the eligibility criteria, I think, as I recall, anything over 250,000 in terms of an application falls into a different category or isn't eligible at all. The project that we're recommending is under 50,000.
Anything further? Anyone opposed to passing this resolution? Nope, that's carried. Okay. This one's moved by Councillor Burden and seconded by Councillor Keith that Council for the Town of Parry Sound support the submission for a formal request to the Office of the Fire Marshal to consider Parry Sound as a regional training center. Mr. Thompson, do you have anything that you want to add to this or comment on?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess a couple things. First of all, this is a regional approach would be the first thing that I want to say. The all the municipal fire chiefs are in favor of taking this to their council. I know Seguin did this last night. Another someone else is doing it tonight and another tomorrow. This is a cooperative effort. At the stage we're at with regards to our fire departments, just like our fire on Friday, we can't do these things alone anymore. We don't have the resources. We don't have the number of people required, any of the things that are required to be able to function on our own for major initiatives. So this is regional. We're all in favor of attempting to move this forward. Second of all, the concept of a regional training center does not mean something physical. And I want to make that very clear. The concept of a regional training center would be a place of education for firefighters, for municipal firefighters. So currently, amongst the 6 fire departments, we do have some physical resources we would be able to include, but this does not mean that there would be a burn house, smoke tower would have to be built or any of that type of infrastructure. If possible down the road, we could want to try to do something like that. But as a preliminary and a beginning point, it is not necessary. It does not necessarily mean a physical substance.
Thanks, Councilor McCann.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, Chief Thompson spoke to the very thing I was going to ask about while I was reading today, that this doesn't mean at this point in time that it is a physical building. And I think that's the first thing I thought of when I first heard of this. So what does this do? Does it provide funding then to the various departments to get the apparatus needed for training then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it does a number of things. I mean, the beginning of this comes with the fire college being shut down and closed. The fire marshal's office has been very clear with municipal fire chiefs that is going to happen, no matter how loudly we complain. What they want to move towards is the concept of regional training centers. So what we gain out of this is the ability to be able to train firefighters locally that will have the support of the fire marshal's office. So there are some resources that come to bear with that, such as the possibility to get trainers to come to assist from the fire marshal's office, as well as to get physical resources. One of the tools they're going to have are mobile trailers to do live burn or live fire evolutions in. So without being a regional training center, you cannot get that into your municipality. So those are some of the benefits to being able to do this. Again, we would be able to train our firefighters without having to send them to the next closest regional training center. Right now, we'd be looking at places like Sudbury or Barrie. Whether there are going to be ones in the end closer, I suspect there will be, maybe Huntsville, maybe Aurelia. However, that being said, it still costs for food, accommodations, and numerous other things that will have to occur if we cannot be training our firefighters locally.
Great, thank you very much.
Councilor Borneman.
Chief Thompson, is there any opportunity, a couple questions, is there any opportunity for this to grow beyond just the immediate West Parry Sound area? You partially answered the follow-up question about training, indicating that some would be brought in from the fire marshal's office. Would any of the training be undertaken by you, other staff people, chiefs from the other departments and such? Would those resources be shared as well?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. First part of the question first, would this allow for people to come in from outside of the area? Most definitely it would. If we were a regional training center, then we would need to, if we had unfulfilled seats and courses we were running, they would be able to be offered up to areas that aren't in our immediate vicinity, be that Southern Ontario, far Northern Ontario, wherever that may be. That's part of the deal of being a regional training center, is that you need to be able to provide training to those, the broader firefighting community. Secondly, most definitely, yes, in terms of the training would probably be more so based upon our local trainers providing it. That's part of the process we're going through right now. Our chief training officer, working with the deputy chief in Seguin, is putting together a resource list, identifying who's trained to be able to teach a variety of subjects that we would be providing locally. We would be starting this small if we get approval, such things as simple recruit programs, simple pump operation programs. We have trainers within our 6 fire departments now that can provide this type of training. Being a regional training center would make create a level of officialness to us being able to deliver those courses locally.
Okay, Councilor Keith.
Yes, thank you, Chief Thompson. I'm just wondering, does the regional training center, does it require a special accreditation in advance? Is that something that was also necessary?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, there would not be a requirement for a special accreditation, such as like a community college would have, or anything of that nature. To provide individual courses, you would have to have or access to people who were qualified to train those courses. As an example, if we were to provide a pump operator course, right now we have 3 people within our ranks, or former firefighters who could be adjunct instructors to provide that, being Greg Skinner, Patrick Schubaum in Seguin, and a fellow named Mike Evans in McDougall, are already qualified to teach a course of that nature. So although you don't have to have special qualification overall to be able to provide any particular course, you would have to have people who have special qualifications.
Okay. Anything further? Nope. Anyone opposed to the passing of this resolution? No, that's carried then. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Burden, seconded by Councillor McCann. The Council Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound deny the request from McKaiser Holding Corporation to stop up and close a portion of Macklem Drive and Dennis Drive road allowance. discussion. Mr. Algie, do you need to add anything to this first, or?
There's nothing to add.
Okay. Councilor McCann? Councilor McCann, you had your hand up? I guess he's frozen. Okay, Councilor Borneman.
So Mr. Algie, with respect to this, as I read your report, I'm all in favor of residential development where appropriate. As I read your report, it seemed to me that we could take this company's money and do as they ask, but they'd still not get a building permit for the parcel of property, that it's inappropriate for any sort of development legally and probably logistically as well. You're muted, Taylor.
Sorry about that. Through your worship, I did talk to the applicant after the fact, and when he was aware that the properties did merge, he said, okay, well, I would want to add this part and then be able to divide them into 2 lots anyway. So that was kind of the way he was looking at it after this was already published. But in regards to contamination, you're exactly right. We don't know if it's contaminated, but it used to be an industrial use. Before a building permit can be issued, they would require a Riker of the site condition. If council even were considering disposing the property and against staff's recommendation, I would say that should be a condition of any sale well in advance before even getting that far down the road, because there are potential liabilities with selling contaminated or potentially contaminated lands.
Yeah. Councilor McCann, we'll go back to you. You were frozen there. Either that or you're really good at not blinking. One or the other.
No, it seems to be a bad connection tonight. After me talking about how great our internet connection was.
Yeah, it's very true.
I spoke too soon. Please bear with me. I have a couple of brief questions. First of all, I would ask Mr. Algie, as is the way it is now, what is the least or the most that he could do? Can he still make use of the property that he owns on the condition that he passes all of the tests and Ministry of Health passes and such?
Your worship, that's correct. So on page 4, where the property is outlined in red, they get a building permit for anything that's lot is zoned for. I spoke to the applicant's agent last week, and I encouraged that we'd be willing to receive any application to upzone the lands to see if they want to be looking at some type of townhouse unit, like a 3 townhouse unit or something like that, to help recoup the cost, because there is a fee from the Terrace and Fee project levied against that property. So I was trying to encourage them to look at it from a different angle.
Okay, you froze a bit there, so I didn't hear all of your answer, but I can listen to it later. The number 44 seems to protrude on a runway of some sort there. What's that about?
Number 44 on the black and white sketch.
Yeah. Is that not part of his land that he wants to develop?
Sorry, which part of lot 44? Could you repeat? I want to make sure I understand.
It's on the roadway from the school.
Yeah, it seems to go. 44 seems to point in over towards the. There's a roadway that runs almost parallel to the school. Bit of an angle, I guess, but between the applicant's property and the school playground, there's a road there. I don't know if it got a name. I think it's just part of the school property.
That's the
buses use.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like 44 encroaches on that school property. Is that the case?
No, it's not. So if you look at the map below where I bordered the red line, that's the actual lot fabric. For whatever reason, MPAC and Terranet have a mess of their mapping data there that they're in the process of correcting. So I tried to give an approximate layout with the red line.
Okay, and so my final question then is, I read with interest, I know a bit about what's going on here because of one of the neighbors that lives close by, this drainage situation that must be addressed. Written in the report, staff doesn't recommend this kind of drainage management on private property. Can you expand on that, or maybe is that maybe something for Public Works to talk about? But I'm interested in knowing a little bit more about that.
I could get it started, and if Mike wants to jump in, I encourage him to do so. Right now, you have stormwater draining from the school property across some of the subject lands and into the municipal property. Ideally, in significant water drainage courses, you'd want it to be all on municipal property, so under the town's realm of control. So if there's ever problems, you can go in there and maintain it. We do have situations in town where it is on private lands, and those can become a headache eventually. So staff's opinion on this one is that rather than lose even more control, it's best not to.
Okay, all right, thanks. Thank you very much. So I guess, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. So in voting here, we're sort of voting yes to say no in this case. I understand.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm going to ask if anyone's opposed. So anything further on this particular one? No? Okay. Anyone opposed to the passing of this resolution? No? Then it's carried. Thank you. Okay. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McCann, that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound approves submission of the letter attached to Schedule A to the Near North District School Board in support of its application to the Ontario Active School Travel Fund to purchase a fleet of bikes for the purpose of training students in grades 7 and 8 on cycle safety. Any discussion? Councillor Borneman?
I support this idea, but I think that might be a little late in the day for it. It's a long time ago, but my recollection is I started riding a bike to school long before grade 7. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's very true. Councillor McCann?
Well, I think what Councillor Borneman is getting to is that it may not be cool to join this if you're that age. I don't know. It's a great idea.
Yeah. Now, there's still lots of kids who ride their bikes to high school. So,
True.
Yeah. Councillor Borneman?
No, I'm just suggesting that I think that the training should start when they're younger than this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're already doing it and they probably have some habits formed by this point.
Yeah. Okay. Anything further? No. Anyone opposed to the passing of this resolution? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. This is the new item, which lost its sticky note for mover and seconder. Okay, so this is moved by Councillor Keith and second by Councillor McCann. Whereas community outreach and communication are critical to gaining community support for healthcare directives. Whereas the Council for the Town of Parry Sound passed 2 resolutions on February 16th, 2021. 1 requesting greater community outreach and communication, and 2 requesting the segregation of COVID-related data between east and west portions of the District of Parry Sound. Whereas the resolutions were endorsed by several West Parry Sound municipalities, Whereas the town of Parry Sound has not received a response or acknowledgement of either resolution from the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit. Whereas municipalities fund a significant portion of District Health Unit's budget. Whereas a lack of communication represents missed opportunity to advocate a common message with a common voice. Whereas collaboration and partnerships can create a united voice on critical issues such as the advocacy of additional vaccines for the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit. Now therefore be it resolved that the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit Medical Officer of Health be requested to establish bi-weekly information exchange meetings with the mayors of West Parry Sound District, and that this resolution be forwarded to the chair and board of the North Bay District Public Health Unit, municipalities of West Parry Sound, Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. David Williams, Minister of Health, the Honorable Christine Elliott, Premier Doug Ford, Norm Miller, MPP for Parry Sound Muskoka, and the Honorable Victor Fideli, MPP for Nipissing, and that the press release be issued on behalf of the town and those West Parry Sound municipalities in support of the resolution. Discussion. Does it say it pretty much all? Okay, all right. Anyone opposed then to the passing of this resolution? No? Okay, it's carried. And then it'll be up to Mr. Harris or Ms. Johnson to get a hold of the municipalities tomorrow morning to let them know that this resolution has been passed and to work on a press release that will be jointly signed by those municipalities that are in agreement. Thank you, everyone. Item 10.11, moved by Councillor Horn, seconded by Councillor Keith, that bylaw number 2021-7108 being a bylaw to specify tax policies, including the clawback percentage, the capping threshold parameters, the maximum tax level for new construction, and to exclude certain properties from the capping program for the year 2021. All those in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Burden, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion. Councillor Burden.
Just for clarification, Mr. Mayor, halfway through that bylaw, you read the word minimum as maximum.
Did I?
Clarify?
The minimum tax level to new class?
It says minimum, but you read it as maximum.
Oh, I did? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Okay, all right, it is minimum. Councillor Keith?
Perhaps Mr. Beaumont could give us a short version of what this all amounts to, seeing as he's had the fun of sitting here all night.
Through you, your worship. Well, it's been an interesting night, Councillor Keith. So basically what this bylaw will let us do, it gives us the flexibility to manage the business tax capping program by adjusting the capping parameters to increase the progress towards a current value assessment level taxes. So basically, like I've been preaching for the last few years, we have a few properties that are still covered under this capping program set out in 1998. With this, we are moving towards getting them all out of the cap so that they are paying their what they're supposed to be paying in taxes. So.
Okay. Good. Anything else? Nope. Anyone opposed to the passing of this bylaw? No one's opposed, so that's carried. Thank you. So moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2021-7109 being a bylaw to set tax ratios for municipal purposes for the year 2021 be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third reading? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Burden, second by Councillor Borneman, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Nope. Okay. Anyone opposed to passing of this bylaw? No one's opposed, so that's carried. Moved by Councillor Backman, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2021-7110, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And that's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Backman, second by Councillor Keith, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Anyone opposed to the passing of this bylaw? Nope, so that's carried. Okay, prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. There'll be a special meeting on March 9th at 7 p.m. With regard to the budget. And the next regular meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled for Tuesday, March the 16th, 2021 at 7 p.m. This meeting will be held via Zoom video conferencing and will be live streamed and recorded. All regular meetings of council are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Council meeting schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes, and instructions on accessing live streamed and recorded council meetings are all posted on the town's website. Go to www.parrysound.ca under news and public notices. Your TV airs council meetings on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. following a regular council meeting. And for Cogeco listings, contact www.yourtv.tv. And I will just ask Ms. Johnson one question, and that is that the special meeting on March 9th will be Zoomed as well?
Yes, that's correct.
Very good. Everyone's been informed that has listened to this then. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.